The following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Defy Life Podcast. I'm your host, J.R. Glimp. Joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Alvin Glimp. What up, cuzzo?
Hey, what's going on, man? I feel like the kid who been gone for like Christmas break
Yeah, it
and
was
took
about
an
to
extra
put you.
2 weeks off.
Yeah, right. We about to put your face on a milk carton.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm back. You ain't gotta look for me. Here I go.
No doubt, no doubt, man. Well, welcome back. No Thomas Stevens this afternoon. Um, he has some life stuff to handle.
Feel you.
Yeah. So
Same here. Same here. I
shout out,
get it.
Pooh. Yeah, man.
Shout out to
So
Pooh. See
yeah,
you
I'm
next go
I'm
round.
I'm starting to question, like, do you ever see Alvin and Thomas in the same room? Are they the same person? Like, I don't know.
So we kind of like Latoya Jackson and Michael Jackson. Like people going to
Right.
start wondering, is this really one person?
Right.
And when we all on the show together, it's just AI generated.
Hey, what other explanation could there be?
It's AI generated.
All right. Shout out to Pooh, man. Hopefully we see you
Yes,
next week.
sir. Yes, sir.
But as it is, we got business to handle. So
Business.
yeah, man. So thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for watching. Those of you here for the first time, welcome. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Check us out at defylife.co. If you want to get some merch, sweatshirts, hats, all that stuff, check us out at defylifegear.com. Get it out to you. Shit is dope. But yeah, we appreciate y'all, man. Welcome back to another one. Episode 17, man. It's good to be back in the groove.
Yes, sir.
Let's get right to it. Man, your Jets done fired the head coach, man. What's going on?
Damn, that's where we going. That wasn't even
We
on the
going
prep sheet. That was not even
right.
on the prep
We
sheet.
going straight there, man.
Yeah, I ain't mad at you. Yo, I don't understand. I really don't. I was shocked. I'll just leave it at that. I um I don't see him as the problem in terms of what we are seeing week to week. And so for an organization to make that decision in the middle of the season, it was extremely shocking. And so it makes me wonder, since just because I don't see anything performance player wise as the reason. And, so trying to connect it to maybe the coach isn't doing his job. He looked like he was doing his job.
Right.
It must be something else, something we're not aware of. And I think some people are, huh? You think you know what it is?
Yeah.
Well, before I say what it is, what you think it is?
No, I want to hear what you got to say, man. You the Jets fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one, it has to, it's screaming Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, that's what I was
Like
going to say.
that there's some beef, something that he was either asked or he went unprovoked and said, this ain't working. We got to make a change. Some people point to the cadence comment from a couple of weeks ago when Salah was saying that, maybe we need to change that cadence because people aren't hearing it or they're not adjusting right and causing some penalties. And Aaron Rodgers was like, yeah, I don't think so. Maybe you just might want to hold these players accountable instead. So it seemed like an obvious riff at that point. But Joe, I don't know. But I also wonder if it's something else. I really wonder if it's something that we just haven't been exposed to. Maybe it'll come out hopefully in the near future that is bigger than what we are seeing with him and Aaron. Because I just hope my Jets wouldn't just listen to Aaron Rodgers and fire a coach in the middle of the season, putting our whole season at risk.
Yeah, I definitely think his input was involved. The Jets have never fired a head coach midseason, and they've definitely had worse.
Correct.
Salah was 20-36 in his career.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
I mean, considering the mess he took over, it's not egregious. Um,
It's
I
had
think
terrible quarterback play.
right.
Like in those
Exactly.
wins, honestly, it's that terrible quarterback play.
Right. And he's a defensive minded coach. His defense is second in the league right now. Um, He's got one of the top assistants. The guy who's taking his job over is one of the top assistants in the league. And I think it goes all the way back to, you remember, was it in mandatory OTAs when Aaron Rodgers was missing.
Mm,
And of course, you can't blame the Achilles injury on him, but coming off that injury, if you still got to get assimilated with your teammates and your receivers and everybody, for you to miss OTAs and you're supposed to be the leader, I mean, it says a lot for the existing teammates and the new guys coming in. Like, what does that say to them? Like, this guy get to miss mandatory
mm,
practices, and we got to be here. And not only does it damage morale, but it obviously, coming off of injury, he still looks rusty.
mm.
So it's going to take time to get all that stuff back. And so for Woody Johnson to fire a coach mid-season, I definitely think Aaron Rodgers has something to do with that because the bulk of the blame is coming off 3 interception game. Like Robert Saleh
Mhm.
don't throw passes
Nope, not one.
at all, and to because the defense is rolling. They look at it and give 43-17. Like
Yep,
it could have been
correct.
worse. So it was just like to me that I don't know if it's ego or saving face, combination of the two, or some more stuff. But Aaron Rodgers definitely had a say in it because
Mm.
the bulk of the blame goes to Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett for the way that offense is looking.
And this is very in line with some of the diva behavior that we've kind of seen from Aaron Rodgers in the past, right?
Right.
And so I guess we were, at least as some Jets fans, some of us was hoping that we would see a non-diva Aaron Rodgers that would just come here and just be a great quarterback and leave all of that extra stuff that can be toxic and really ruin a year for a franchise out of our locker room.
Right.
And so, um, but it's consistent. And going back to that old saying of when people show you who they are, like believe them. And if this is who
Right.
he is, like shame on the Jets for,
Yeah.
allowing that to really, um, again, put a season in jeopardy. And another thing that is kind of head scratching to your point about the offense, because the offense is really the issue. They replaced
Mm,
him with a defensive coach.
exactly.
So if I had a coach getting fired and then you replace him with a Kellen Moore type, where it's like an offensive guru,
Right.
and you're like, nope, we're gonna take our bet on this guy because this guy has the best offense in the NFL. If you're doing something like that, and that's like, well, all right, at least I can see the motivation behind it in terms of you're really trying to correct what I see and what you see is part of the problem, which is the offensive production. And that's not what they did. They
Right.
replaced it with a
Or
defensive coach.
right. Or at least replace him with Nathaniel Hackett. He's running the offense. If the offense is not the problem, replace
Yeah,
him with that guy.
that guy. So
So it
uh,
really don't make sense.
same old Jets. And back to the offense and what's really plaguing the Jets. I'm hoping that their offensive line plays better from a
Mm,
pass protection perspective and
right.
run game, and that we put the ball in the hands of our two young running backs in Brees Hall and Braylon Allen more
Yeah.
often, so that the running game becomes the focus of our offense.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it really just it reeks of desperation.
Mm.
We know the Jets have been trying to find a franchise guy since maybe Vinny Testaverde. That's the closest, maybe.
The Oh, that's a
Yeah.
stretch.
Chad
Um,
Pennington.
Another stretch. I mean,
Right.
effective, in terms of in Jets lore. Yeah, these is probably
Right.
some of the best quarterbacks that we're going to
Right.
reference. They reached for Brett Favre. I mean, this has been a
Right.
constant
Yeah.
issue with the Jets. So, I mean, honestly, I applauded the move in bringing Aaron Rodgers in because we had such um Zach Wilson obviously was not the guy.
All right.
And so I at least applauded them for taking a shot at bringing in at the time what we were seeing was high quality quarterback play.
All right. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It reeks of desperation because you look at all the swings and misses they've taken,
Hmm.
and to bring up names like Chad Pennington or Vinny Testaverde is the high points. It speaks volumes. And I don't know if I don't know, but it's just another instance of them. Like I don't think they've ever had the guy that you can honestly say could lead them to the promised land. And so
You
it's
know,
just the latest occurrence of them reaching for that guy.
out of all their reaches, to me, the number one, and at least the one who might have had the greatest talent at the time he was on, was Boomer Esiason.
Mm,
And
yeah,
um, while he was at the tail end of his career, I still think the seasons he had with the Jets, he was still playing
yeah,
at a high clip.
true.
And out of all of them, I'll put Boomer at the top in terms of their reaches. Um, but yeah, you're right. It does reek of panic move, which
Mm,
um I don't think was necessary in a division where Miami is looking suspect, New England is looking suspect, Buffalo is definitely and at this point the team that's playing the best.
right.
But I mean,
They're not unbeatable.
they
Yeah,
they right. They got
yeah,
holes.
right.
So um I was more of the approach of steady the ship and let's try to get it right. And again, this is while they're getting rid of the coach, this is somebody who is known in the organization, is the leader of the leading unit. And so um we'll see. If it makes Aaron happy and it gets him to perform better, then the Jets will be looked at as, y'all made the right move and y'all got the organization going in the right direction. But this is definitely a move that puts Aaron Rodgers accountability even greater because if we continue not to play well at the end of the year, you got to go. Like
Yeah.
we don't really need you.
Well, yeah. Well, and the famous words of Isaiah Thomas when he named himself head coach of the Toronto Raptors. It's so crazy it might just work.
It's so crazy. It might just work.
So we'll see. Well, speaking of that division and
Yes, sir.
divisions in general, I know you
Yeah.
got two divisions to think about. Um, who's for the Jets? Since we're on the Jets, we'll stick in
Yeah.
the AFC East. Who's the one team in your division that you love to see suffer the most? Like, who do you
Oh,
who do you get the most sense of showing fraud off of their
it
misery?
got to be the Patriots.
Patriots, I
Got
figured.
to be the Patriots.
Yeah.
Because they have dominated
Hmm.
at least the last 20 some odd years, right? And even they
Right.
had good phases before the Belichick Brady era. But
Mhm.
they are definitely, and it's the New York Boston thing. And
Mhm.
definitely the Patriots will be the number one team that I love to see have bad days and always rooting for them to lose.
Yeah, and they so easy to hate. I mean,
It very,
the
very,
personalities, Belichick, Brady, of
yes,
course,
yes.
Robert Kraft, easy, but then start to trickle down. You know, Aaron Hernandez,
Mm,
the names
mm.
like that is. I think the only likable guy that I can really think of is Gronk,
Yeah, he
just
was
because he's so
likable. I
goofy.
mean,
You're right.
honestly, like from an individual player perspective, having seen them twice a year and get to know them
Mm-hmm.
because they're in the Super Bowls and playoffs all the
Right.
time. There's definitely a cool couple of guys that have come through that organization that I've liked
Right.
as players, right?
Yeah.
Willie McGinnis stands
Yeah.
out. Ty Law back in the
Mm-hmm.
day, right?
Yeah.
These are some guys that I really did respect. But honestly, my beef and dislike of the Patriots goes even before that
Mm-hmm.
uh what do you call it? Dynasty.
All right.
It's at the beginning of the dynasty when Belichick was our coach.
Yeah.
Zons is our coach. Goes over to like, oh, I start hating them that day. That day. So the fact that they have
Right.
had these 2 decades of dominance after that only has burned a wound that had already started to really get
Yeah.
infected.
And now there's already talk of Belichick becoming the next coach in New
Wow.
York.
Come
So
on back.
we'll
Like,
see. All right.
I wonder if he comes back, does he that would be, that's a good thing to speculate on because the question then is, does Aaron Rodgers stay? That does that
Mm,
increase his chances of hanging around? Because I'm sure Belichick wants a veteran
right.
because he doesn't have a lot of time to
Yeah.
develop a team. But then there's a question of if they both are on the same team, can they coexist?
Yeah.
What would that be like? Wow. Yeah.
That'll be fun to watch.
That'd be fun to watch.
Even if it's
And
a train wreck, it'll be fun to watch.
even if it's a train wreck, but I could easily see something like that happening because I mean, again, he's looking for a team that has, you know, talent and a good chance to win.
All
The
right.
Jets would be looking for a coach who could take them to another level.
Mhm.
In New York, yeah, this is what movies are made of.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. He might be having too much fun on TV right now. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's
And it
doing
would,
a good
but
job.
again, it would also put his legacy. I mean, it's a risky move.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
think it's a
It's a
risky
lot of
move.
moving pieces there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
How about in Dallas? Now this will be tougher, I think. Who's the one team you'd love to see suffer most between Philly, New York, and Washington?
Yo, it's hard to pick one.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't like to cop out of many answers of questions, but honestly, my
All of
answer is equally all three. Like,
understood.
there is none of them that I have
Right.
any good feelings for and always like to see bad things happen to that
Mm.
franchise. All three of them equally.
Yeah, I can
That's how
understand that.
that's how deep the beef is.
Yeah,
Like,
and I
I don't like
guess,
y'all.
and I
I don't
guess
like none of y'all.
it doesn't like all three of those teams have been successful at some point,
Hmm. Hmm.
and so it's at some point you probably had like severe hatred for them
Hmm.
because of their
And
success.
it's reciprocated. Like it's not
Right.
like any of those franchises.
Yeah.
Like their number ones would probably all be Dallas.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, we want Dallas to lose the most. Like each
Right.
one of those three, that would be their pick. So they understand why I'm like, yeah, it's coming right back. Coming right back at you. We don't like you either.
Absolutely. And speaking of which,
Yes, sir.
congrats on the win this weekend. Uh, yeah.
Oh, now I got questions for you. I got
Yeah.
questions for you.
Well,
First of
let me
all,
get this question out the way because I want
okay, good, good.
mine would definitely be Cleveland. Um,
Oh,
simply
yeah, yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
simply because
Hmm,
Baltimore, I respect them more. They're just like Pittsburgh, pretty much. And at
yeah,
least they win, and so respect them more than you hate them. But you hate them a little
yeah.
bit. Cincinnati, I guess in the moment right now they've had runs of success where you're like, they start to feel themselves. You understand it. They think something
Hmm.
big is happening. But Cleveland has never accomplished anything. And every time they have like one good year every 10 years,
Yeah.
they think, they start talking shit and they just put the cart before the horse and don't realize there's levels to this. And they just, so
Just
I
don't get it.
actually,
They don't get it.
right. And so it's to the point where sometimes I'll just turn on a Cleveland Browns podcast after they lose just to see them miserable.
Mm.
It's
That-
yeah,
Wow,
it's
that's deep.
bad, man. Yeah,
That's deep.
I
Like,
don't I do not like the
let
Browns.
me just listen to them whine and complain.
Right, it's so fun to just see them miserable because they
Yeah.
go and they remember this successful run they had 4 years ago, and they like maybe it'll come back. And especially now that they have a horrible human being as their quarterback, and they sign him to the worst contract in sports history.
Mm,
They deserve each other.
mm.
Um, it's fun to watch, man. I love seeing Cleveland miserable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but go
Who's your
ahead,
favorite
man.
Cleveland? Well, first, let me ask you this:
Mm,
Who's your favorite Cleveland player of all time?
ooh,
Even with that perspective that you don't like them this
yeah.
much,
Well,
who's your
in
favorite
that
player?
sense, I'll put it in my lifetime. So I exclude
Yeah,
Jim
yeah, that's
Brown.
fine. That's
Anybody?
fine.
I would probably say Kevin Mack.
The running back.
Yeah, simply
Uh-huh.
because of Tecmo Bowl. He was a beast on Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah, he was, dude. Him and
Yeah,
Biner.
him and Biner, Eric
Yeah,
Metcalf,
yeah, yeah.
they were all beasts. Trying to think if there's anybody else.
Mm.
Yeah, probably Kevin Mack, probably my
Yeah.
favorite.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was just good, and he was a South Carolina boy, so it was
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, man.
Good. So my question is really for quarterback play.
Mhm.
Are you still, or where are you in terms of who should be quarterbacking once Russell is healthy?
um, Short answer,
Hmm.
definitely Justin Fields.
Okay.
Um, Nothing against Russ, but I don't think Justin's done anything to disqualify himself. I think he can be better. So strictly on him, I think they knew that. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
he was so ill coached in Chicago that they're almost starting from scratch. It's like you drafted a rookie and you gotta.
Hmm.
There's so many bad habits they gotta break.
Hmm.
So I think that's why you see now. I wish they would, open him up more, open the offense up more, allow him to be who he is.
In
But you
terms of
don't want
running.
running, creating outside of the pocket. So you see
Yeah.
some of that, but sometimes you wish they would unleash it.
Yeah.
But you don't want him to revert to bad habits. So I get it because there's a balance there,
Hmm. Hmm.
especially if you're looking at him possibly being the quarterback of the future.
Right. Right.
So you want to break a lot of those bad habits. So I get it. You want to kind of structure a lot of things to ingrain that before you unleash them because it's easy to revert to bad habits when there's bullets flying. Um, and there's injuries on the offensive line, lack of weapons on offense is you really only got George Pickens as a wideout
Hmm.
consistently, and even you know Pickens half the time is jogging through his routes.
Yo, I heard that. I hadn't seen
Yeah,
it, but they were like, dude is
yeah, it's pretty
not giving
bad.
full effort all the time. Yeah.
But that's the Pittsburgh way. You find an awesomely talented but troubled receiver who's going to last you 3, 4 years. Don't sign him to a second contract, then you go find another one. That's just how it works in Pittsburgh.
Wow.
It's been the Antonio Browns and
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
the Martavis Bryants, the Emmanuel Sanders, Juju Smith Schuster. Like it's only really two Plexco Burrs. It's only been two receivers that have received second contracts in Pittsburgh. Mike Wallace, another one.
Wow. It's
but
like
right,
crazy.
right.
This list.
I'm talking, Marcus Wheaton. Like I'm just going through names. Um, James Washington. Like, but only Hines Ward and Antonio Brown have received second contracts, and Antonio Brown went. We know what happened to him.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of the Pittsburgh way. So I'm not even sure if they're banking on giving a second contract to Pickens because unless they bring in a veteran to kind of police that room.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Um,
Hmm.
and they thought Deontay Johnson is another one.
Yeah. Yeah.
They thought he'd be that guy, but he turned out to be just as immature. Um, so there's something. For one, they definitely need. There's a reason why they were in the Brendan Ayuk market, and now they're in the Devontae Adams trade market. There's a reason for that.
What's the name of that wide receiver that caught the touchdown from Ben Roethlisberger in the end zone, like with his tippy toes, smaller wires.
Santonio Holmes is
Yeah,
another one.
another one.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
right. I think
Wow.
he's the last one that they drafted in the first round. Um, And so you just see a cycle of it. They find these amazingly talented receivers who some way eventually
Right. Act
diva
their
their
way.
way out of
Right.
Pittsburgh. Right.
Act their way out of Pittsburgh.
Right. So, you know, it'll pick it at the crossroads, at this point.
Hmm.
And maybe the most talented receiver in the league. Um,
Yeah, he definitely is super talented.
right. But
Great hands.
yeah, but when you start alienating teammates and not blocking for runners, not running your routes on the backside of plays, you know, that you don't last long.
No bueno.
Right.
Hmm.
So, but back to your question.
Yes, sir.
With the injuries and the youth on the offensive line, the lack of
Hmm.
weapons on offense, I think
Hmm.
I think Russ will get killed playing because Russ is not as mobile as he used to be.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and
Hmm.
he's not as effective when he does get out of the pocket as he used to be. So I don't think it'd be a huge drop off to Russ, but I think you'd be doing him a disservice putting him in under
Yeah.
these circumstances, and especially in week 6, just dropping him in there. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I think you go with Fields at least until the bye and evaluate things then. Um, but yeah, I don't think Russell would survive in the current state.
Okay. Okay. Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Uh, but yeah, man. But kudos to y'all, man. Pittsburgh talked tough and y'all played tough. Y'all played a hard nosed game.
Hard nosed game. Definitely overcame some mistakes, like
Mm,
Dak pretty careless with the ball at times.
yeah.
And still some issues consistently running. So, I mean, I think for us to win the game with those issues and a couple of injuries on the road, to do that on the road, I just think is a really good sign for the locker room sake, just to have,
Right.
something like that occur.
Right.
But we got a hard schedule coming up. And so
Mm,
um I really, I feel like last year it was easy to look at the Dallas Cowboys and say, you are not as good as the 49ers. Like I could
mm,
see that early in the season. This year it's kind of the Lions. I look at the Lions and just
right.
look at the Cowboys and I'm like, yeah, y'all just not that good.
All right.
And I'm hoping for the best, and I want to have a really good season. But in terms of the outcome for the end of the year, I'm like, we can't beat them. But you
Mm,
never know what it look like come December and January. But as it stands now, they look in a whole nother class,
yeah.
Detroit Lions. And so,
Absolutely.
I like to see quarterbacks who have, I mean, I really like to see quarterbacks who fight through it, who make mistakes, but at the end of the game, they have a chance to win and they do what it takes to win the game. Like, I just think like that is kudos to the mental toughness of those quarterbacks who are able to do that. And
Yeah. And shout out to
a really
Dak for
good sign.
diving on that fumble at the end of the game because that
Yo,
would have been the play of the year if Pittsburgh ever had
yeah,
recovered that
yeah,
fumble.
yeah. And I'm not sure where I heard it. It might have been Rex Ryan, right?
Hmm.
Um, I think I'm pretty sure it was Rex Ryan who compares that play to Cam Newton not diving on the ball in the Super
Right.
Bowl.
Yeah.
And like just like I just thought that was like I kind of forgot about that play. It's just kind of
Yeah.
like he was like basically like every quarterback does not make that play. And it's just
Right.
like so as much as we want to rag on Dak for when he makes mistakes, recognize that that play right there, which saves the game, every quarterback does not do that.
Right.
And there's some who
Yeah.
hasn't done it even in the Super Bowl. And we said it, I was like, damn, that's a
Yeah.
great memory. Like, who remembered that?
Right. And and I've seen people comment on it, and really, Dak just doing quarterback stuff. That's what you
Mhm.
want your quarterback to do, right?
Mhm.
But most quarterbacks, as we've heard, you don't put your body on the line for one play.
Mhm.
But with the actual game on the line,
Mhm.
he put his body on the line. There was a Steelers player was right there diving for the fumble as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so kudos to Dak. That's a huge play. And like I said, man, he won't get as much credit for that as like you just said, as for the blame that he'll take for the other plays.
Mhm.
And rightfully so, he should get blamed for those plays. But that play was huge. because if they don't recover that fumble, that's the play of the year so far.
Yeah, without it, like that's the greatest play I see. It's still the greatest play,
Right. Even yeah, even
right?
without
Right.
them
It's
recovering.
still an
Right.
amazing play.
Right.
But I think just to shout that one last time, I think one of the things I really value about Dak is his not just his leadership ability, but how he chooses to lead.
Right.
And I I just respect a leader who, to in that point, in that instance, is willing to lay it on the line at the time, like when it counts. That to me
Right.
is a good sign of leadership. But I also respect a leader that chooses to focus on the work, right? Like
Mm,
he is someone like that does his best to try to ignore noise and just focus on what needs to get done to accomplish our goal. He's always not the best at it, but I
right.
appreciate his focus on the work because that is critical in terms of execution.
Yeah, and especially in games like that, when you know it's going to be ugly, playing Pittsburgh, it's going to be an
Hmm.
ugly game. That game was designed for Pittsburgh to win the way it was played out,
Oh my goodness.
and to have your quarterback be able to get his hands dirty. And as a leader in any circumstance, football, life, work,
Yeah.
if your people or your followers don't know that you're willing to get your hands dirty and do the work that they do, um,
Hmm.
you know, they're not gonna follow you when the times get tough. So
Hmm.
in that kind of game, for him to put his body on the line, man, kudos to Dak. I always say he's the most overhated player in the league. Not a Dak fan, but I
All right.
respect what I respect it.
Definitely comes with the quarterback position of the Dallas Cowboys. You gonna
Right,
get your haters, player. You gonna
man.
get your
Yeah,
haters. Yeah.
yeah, man. Well, um, moving on to week 6, man. We're gonna preview these games in a sec, but before we do, what do you know that you know after week 5?
Ooh. Well, I know after week 5 that the Sam Darnold improvement is
Mm,
not just a blip on the screen.
yeah,
And I'm not saying he's um, you know, going to the Hall of Fame,
right,
but I do think he is establishing himself as somebody who deserves to be a starting quarterback in this league, whether it's in Minnesota or when JJ McCarthy comes, he goes somewhere else. I do
Miami.
think I do think he is showing that he deserves to be a quarterback in this league.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, impressive by him. Like that whole team is, I think, having everybody on that team at key positions is having career years.
Yeah, yeah.
Sam Darnold, Andrew Van Ginkel, Brian Flores, and he's been great all along. But the way that I said it last week when Pooh was on, the way Flores has that defense playing is legit. Like they are killing it.
I mean, that Van Ginkel play
Yeah,
was pretty impressive too.
yeah. Like Van Ginkel, like um, Severin to lose, Daniil Hunter and get better as a defense is impressive. So
Mm,
yeah, one thing I know after week 5, um,
hmm.
in like I know it's content and clicks and views, and we all like to sound smart before the season
Mm.
because we got to have content, but primarily because of injuries and like you just mentioned, stories like Sam Darnold, we don't know what the hell we're talking about. Nobody do.
No,
It's just
no, really don't, really don't.
like
It's content generation.
right, like because before the season, for one, in the AFC North, somebody would have told you that Pittsburgh would be tied for first for Baltimore, and Cincinnati and Cleveland would be last at 1-4. Nobody would believe that.
Would have made a
Somebody
lot of
had,
money.
right, somebody had told you that Minnesota would be undefeated. Nobody would believe that. Somebody had told you that San Francisco and the aforementioned AFC North teams, and you know those teams will be under 500.
Mm.
Nobody will believe you. And so, and injuries have played a huge role in that. You look at the injuries in San Fran, look at the injuries in Dallas, look at the injuries in Pittsburgh, everywhere. And last year we had an abundance of quarterbacks get hurt, and it kind of affected play. But this year it's just league-wide stars across the board. We've had already, Michael Parsons
Yep.
missing multiple games, DeMarcus Lawrence missing multiple games, Alex Highsmith missing multiple games. You're on the Raiders. Man, they're Max Crosby missing multiple games. Like that's just off the top of my head. Like it's Christian McCaffrey. Like you know, Nick Chubb. It's
Mm.
everywhere. Um, and so this is what makes it so fun, though. So that's what I know. I know is it's week 5. And we still don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Still trying to figure it
I'm
out.
still trying to figure it out.
And I mean, honestly, the NFL week by week changes.
Yeah,
And so even once you get to December, like, wow, there are some trends and there are some teams that are playing better and establish themselves as consistent performers. The injuries that could occur on a week to week basis is really can be game changers. But then
yeah,
also, it's such a league that is rooted in parity that
yeah.
it's really hard to establish any franchise as unbeatable.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's all we can do is keep guessing. That's I
Mhm.
guess that's all we can do. Let's get into our picks for the week, man. Just Thursday night, we got the 49ers. We just mentioned them traveling to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. 49ers coming off a heartbreaking loss. Seahawks coming off a heartbreaking loss. Who bounces back? Who you got?
I'm going to go with Seattle bouncing back. I especially if um especially if San Fran's offense isn't full strength. I feel like they'll be able to um get some yards, score some points, and the defense will be able to disrupt San Fran enough to where Seattle, I think, pulls it out in a close one.
Mm, yeah, and Gino's been impressive, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next game, and that was the Thursday night game. Next, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars going to the Chicago Bears. Who you got, man?
I one of the more surprising teams in the league for me has been Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know they haven't figured it out historically, so why am I surprised they didn't figure it out so far this season? But I kind of feel like last week might have been a turning point. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to roll with Jacksonville. Um, Jacksonville pulling it out there. I think this is a in London game.
Yeah, 9:30
Yeah,
a.m.
yeah,
Eastern.
yeah, yeah. So there's no home
Yeah.
team advantage in Chicago.
Right.
Yeah, not playing in the heat in Jacksonville, which might be a good thing with the weather coming through them this
Mm-hmm.
week. But I'm going with Jacksonville beating the Bears. Sorry to say that, Pooh.
He'll get over it. 1 o'clock starting the Sunday 1 o'clock games. They'd say this, but probably the most surprising team in the league, the Washington Commanders,
Yeah.
going right up the street, take on the Baltimore Ravens. It should be a great game, man. Who you taking?
This will be definitely a game I hope to be sitting on my couch watching. This is gonna be a
Yeah,
pretty exciting game.
right. This will be a litmus
But
test.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you know, that being, it's going to be fun to watch these two quarterbacks go at it. But
Hmm.
I also want to say, I don't think Baltimore's defense is the old traditional
All right.
Baltimore
Especially not the
defense
pass
either.
defense. Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
it's going to be fun to see what he can bring. And just fun to watch to see these two young. I mean, although Lamar's been in the league for a while, but
Mm,
see how he responds with the new Lamar
right.
playing against him. I think it's gonna be fun to watch.
But you know what's going to be interesting though, considering Baltimore's, like you said, Lamar's still young, but he's been in the league for a while.
Hmm.
What kind of plan Baltimore has since they see him every day in practice,
Mm.
and Washington has never really like they don't. I
Oh,
mean, they've only seen Jaden Daniels for
good
six
point.
months, right?
Yeah, good point.
So I wonder what kind of plan Baltimore comes up with because maybe they have something. You see him every day. Maybe you know how to stop that type of quarterback. But it's going to be fun to watch, man. Another 1 o'clock game. The Arizona Cardinals coming off that win against San Fran go to Green Bay to take on the Packers. Who you taking?
Um, I think Green Bay is probably favored, and so you know, with Jordan Love back, I think that's a good reason to. And the fact that they're in Green Bay, I like how the defense is playing at times with the Packers. I'm gonna go with Green Bay on this one.
Okay. All right. Next, we got Houston traveling to your beloved New England Patriots. Who you taking?
Yeah. Um, New England, I don't think it's going to be close. I do think, at least a touchdown, they'll win. I know they've replaced their quarterback, which I don't think is a bad move. So I do think, you might as well put him in because of what we've seen from Jacoby Brissett this season.
Yeah,
And let's see what we got with the young boy. But Texans defense is too solid, and I think the offense has been rolling as well, like CJ Stroud in this one to really go off.
no doubt. All right. And Tampa Bay traveling to New Orleans. Who you taking?
I'm going with the Bucks. Thought the Saints this is back to you don't really know anything early on. Don't get fooled by a
Mm,
fool's goal. The Saints was fooling me with the fool's goal,
yeah.
like they were winning and then they're not. But I also think they've had some close chances of winning. So even though they've lost the last three games, they've been competitive games, all of them. And so one to the Falcons, they lose with the field goal at the end of the last
Mm,
second. So I'm not going to overreact and say the Saints are, not what we thought they are. Just it's still too early. This is more of what I see in the Buccaneers and that they've been solid. And I think they can go down to New Orleans. And especially if Derek Carr is hurt, or compromised in any way, Tampa Bay should be able to win this.
okay. Next we've got uh, those two of our most hated teams. The Cleveland Browns traveling to Philly to take on the Eagles. Who you taking?
I know the Eagles. The Eagles are favored in this by a lot, I'm sure, but I do think it's going to be closer than people imagine. I'm still going with Philly in this one,
Hmm.
but I do think that at some point the defense is going to get a offense that joins them in above average play in Cleveland. I think the defense has been doing a fairly decent job. Offense hasn't been doing it all. And um, with the Eagles injuries on the offensive side, I do think
Hmm.
they could this could be closer than people imagine. So, but I'm still going with Philly.
Okay. We got Indy traveling to Tennessee. We got.
Um, it's hard for me to co-sign the Titans right now with Will Levis being inconsistent. So I'm gonna go with the
Jeez.
Colts.
Yeah.
Um, I think they have a more balanced offense, so should be able to outscore what Tennessee is putting on the board. Um, I think back to Levis. I think he got some arm talent. Just
Mm,
with a lot of quarterbacks, it's just going to be about can you make the right decisions to be a quality quarterback?
Yeah, I think Will Levis thinks he's in like an episode of Friday Night Lights or like Varsity. It's
Yeah,
always like one play in every game where he's just like, "Oh, this is my time. I got to do some crazy shit."
I
Like,
got to do something crazy.
right, and it becomes a meme. Like, I think he really thinks he's a quarterback in a Disney movie or some shit. It's crazy.
Like, not today, bro.
Right.
Not today.
Uh, Next game to start the 4 o'clock docket. We got the Chargers traveling to Denver. Who you got?
Mm. Denver's playing good ball,
Yeah,
surprising teams with the wins. Bo Nix is not throwing the game away, so shout
right.
out to what they're building in Denver. But if Harbaugh has Herbert playing,
Mm,
I'm gonna take them
okay.
getting the dub in Denver this week.
All right. Next, Pittsburgh travels to Vegas to take on the Raiders and whoever their quarterback might be.
Yeah,
Who you taking?
the Raiders is chaos right now, man.
Yeah,
It's I'm going Steelers all the way. They get a rebound, get the dub, go into Vegas. I think they might be able to run it on them. I think the tight end action, I think they're vulnerable to that as well. So if Justin can get it to Fryer moved, I think they got a good shot of moving and getting some first downs
okay.
and scoring some points.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Uh, Atlanta travels to Charlotte to take on the Panthers. Who you got?
I'm gonna take the Falcons in this one.
Uh,
Um, you know, Panthers got to figure out what's happening with the quarterback and their
right.
offense. Defense is solid, but not good enough.
Yeah, it's funny. Last week the Panthers were playing the Bears, so I was like texting Money and Pooh. I was like, "Yo, y'all got some shit this week. What's up?"
Hmm.
Money was like, "Man, we suck." I was like, "Yeah, but at least now y'all look like an actual NFL team last couple of weeks." And
Hmm.
then they went and got beat by 30. So yeah, it's
Right, right, right.
um, Detroit going to Dallas to take on your Cowboys. This is the litmus test. What are we taking here?
Well, I mean, I already confessed early
Mm,
in this show that I
right.
don't think the Cowboys are as good as the Lions. So I would be inconsiderate. I mean, inconsistent hypocrite if
Yeah.
I am not always so objective,
Right.
but no, in this one, I'm going with Detroit.
Okay. He said it. I didn't. Cowboys fans. Don't
Yeah,
jump on me.
yeah.
Cincinnati traveling to the Giants. This could be ugly or this could be a high scoring game. I don't know either way. Who you taking?
Ooh, I'm going to go. This is going to be an interesting game.
On
Um,
Sunday Night Football, by the way.
yeah, yeah. I'm going with the. Oh, this is hard. I think I'm gonna go with the Bengals. I
Okay.
think I'm gonna go with the Bengals. Um, I was just telling somebody that I'm probably higher on Daniel Jones than most people,
Yeah.
and I think he is going to prove himself to be a solid NFL quarterback. Not a game breaker, but solid.
Mm,
And um, I look at the Giants. I think they're gonna beat more teams that people are gonna pick them on because I think they're gonna surprise some people.
yeah.
I just think that Bengals um need this win bad.
Mm.
And if it means we gotta throw it to Jamar Chase 47 times to get this win, they going to do what it takes to leave New York, New Jersey with the dub. So I'm gonna go with the Bengals.
All right. It'll be a pretty nice little counter matchup. Jamar Chase
Yeah.
and Malik Neighbors, the
Yeah,
LSU
that's gonna be
receivers,
fun.
gonna
That's
be
gonna be
fun.
fun. That's gonna be fun.
Last game of the week, Monday night, we've got Buffalo traveling to your Jets. What it look like?
Jets, Jets, Jets. I think
Okay.
we have a situation where the Jets are going to rally around the new coach. The
Mm,
defense is going to play lights out because their guy is now the guy.
mm,
And um it's at home. They're going to feel the energy. And I just see the Jets finding a way to pull this out and get um they need this to stay in contention for our division. So this is a especially a, I mean the first place team, and this is the start of the head to head. We gotta get this dub. It's not even an option. So um yeah, this is there's no option. We got to win, and the Jets gonna have to play like that. So I'm gonna go with the more desperate team coming out with a win.
no doubt. All right. Well, that's it for this week. Before we go, man, what were your thoughts on? I mean, I know it's preseason, but seeing Bron and Bronny on the court together.
Oh man. Um, I think he is accomplishing every father's dream, right? And
Man.
so, and shout out to him for accomplishing a goal, something he set out for years, and it's just a magical moment. For those who have heard this show, I can't say I'm in the top 50 of LeBron fans, but what he has done in the last decade or so is significantly earned my respect of him as a player. And so, you know, like you ain't gotta like me, but you gonna respect me.
Right.
And I have nothing but the utmost respect for this man. And I think here's another thing when people ask, well, so what made you change and respect this guy so bad?
All right.
And he also is another thing to add to the list. Like, so I'm happy for him. I'm happy for
Yeah.
Bron, happy for the Lakers. Not one of my franchises anymore. We are still officially divorced,
Mm,
but I don't want bad for them, and I root. I hope for the best. But I'm um, all in with these Knicks with Carl Anthony Town.
yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you.
Looking forward to a Jalen Brunson led effort this year, and I think I'm all in, and I'm picking the Knicks. I picked them last year, and I'm still riding with those Knicks, and love the Carl Anthony trade. Really
Yeah,
do, really
they
do.
definitely going all out for this. So,
Yeah, yeah,
and then and it's not for show. Like this is real with the Knicks. So it
yeah.
looks like it's legit, man.
And that's the other part, right? And is that it's different from what we probably have seen for the last 20 years or so in terms of
Right.
the construction of team and the spirit and the energy behind it.
Hmm.
Um, and to your point, it is very authentic and very
Yeah.
sincere. And they are a team that people can root for, whether you're a Knicks fan or
Right.
not. And I
Yeah.
think that is great to be part of in terms of a Knicks fan.
Yeah, man. It's weird. I'm gonna be following you around as a fan because again, of course, I'm still holding on to my Laker fandom. But I was a Knicks fan when Larry Johnson was there, of course, my
Yeah,
favorite player of all time. But
true that.
it was kind of, since then, it's kind of like, they ain't really done nothing for me.
Right.
But this Knicks team is easy to root for. I'm a, I like Bridges.
Yes. Yes.
That was a great move. But I like this. I like this team. It's not just
Yes.
like when they brought in Melo. There was more because Melo's name wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
constructed well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But now they're building around Brunson and they're really putting
Mm-hmm.
some real pieces there.
Mm-hmm.
And giving up a big asset in Randall to get a better asset in time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
And the DiVincenzo.
and
Um,
DiVincenzo, right?
he was
Exactly.
a fan
Hmm.
favorite.
Right.
Uh, groomsman in Jalen Brunson's wedding.
Right.
A great
Yeah.
3-point shooter. So you know, it was when I heard the trade, it definitely was didn't want to see. Da Vin I call him Da Vinci. That's kind of my nickname for
Right.
him. Didn't want to see Da
Yeah.
Vinci part of it.
Right.
Um, I liked Randall, what he brought to the team, but I also the GM in me understood that this he was the asset that had to
Absolutely.
be moved
Yeah.
because he had great value, but I didn't necessarily see signing him again. Like it was kind of
Yeah.
one of the things like, well, damn, if we're not gonna sign him, maybe it's best to move him, see what we can get. So I really think from that flipping an asset perspective to your point, I think that was a great move. But I'm with you. Like the construction of the team
Mm,
as a like cohesive unit seems to make sense. But the guys themselves, the way they play,
yeah.
Bridges, Brunson, Hart, OG, um,
Yeah.
I just love the way they bring it on the court. And
Right.
then we'll see if Carl Anthony can how he kind of adjusts. I think I'm hoping that he fits in and
Yeah. And
particularly not having to be the guy
right.
it won't be an issue.
Right. And then he's definitely an upgrade over Hardenstein. I mean, I
Mm.
love Hardenstein as a player,
Oh
but
yeah,
Towns is definitely a
yeah,
better player. So
much
he'll be an upgrade, like you
much
said,
better,
as long as he learns how to adjust and fit
right?
his role, because it's still Jalen Brunson's team. It's
Without a
gonna
doubt.
be his team. So I think they'll be fine.
And what I learned in this transaction is that he's from the area. I didn't
Right.
know
I
Carl
didn't know
Anthony
that
was
either.
from the area.
Right. Yeah.
So that might help with just the cultural adjustment that occurs with some players
Exactly.
coming to play in the area. So
Yeah.
it's all about the next
So
player.
yeah, man. So that should
So
be fun
welcome.
too.
All that hey,
Yeah.
hey, I'm always welcoming people who want to join as
No
a
doubt.
fan of teams. I am not one of them team fan guys who like, no, we're not accepting
Okay.
application. We are always
Yeah.
come on over,
Well, good. And in
roll with
turn, when
these
you
leagues.
ready to come back to the Lakers, I'll be there to welcome you.
As
Um,
long as LeBron is on the
as
team.
right as long as he's still there. Now, I
Well,
might still be a.
does it transfer like real estate to the
Uh,
Sun in
that's what I
terms of
was
your
about to say.
fanship? Are
I
you
gotta
gonna become a
feel my
Bronny
I
fan?
gotta feel my Bronny fanship out first. But
I love it.
it might last you a 2 3 year window at
Okay,
least.
okay, okay.
Still hanging
I got some
around.
time. I got
Right, you
some
got some
time.
time. Brian got two
Okay,
3 years left,
okay.
and then Bronny after that, maybe if he stick around. So yeah,
Yeah.
we got. I'll be around. So just let me know. We'll be able to
Well,
welcome you back.
before we get out of here, you just kind of reminded me that this is just an amazing part of the sports calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So just for me be able to watch some basketball,
Mm-hmm.
NFL, college basketball, WNBA. Hockey is starting
Playoffs.
tonight. The playoffs is starting. I mean, in
Mm-hmm.
baseball. So you're right. WNBA playoffs, baseball playoffs.
All right.
This is all happening all in one weekend. Man, this is fantastic. This has
Yeah.
been good to experience. I love this time of the year. This is only
Yes.
like for a week or two, but
Yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah. And the weather is starting to feel like fall weather. My favorite time of the year.
Yeah, I get that.
So
I get
yeah.
that too.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. This is the exact opposite end of the spectrum of like it's like late June.
Yeah, right. We're like
Storms. Yeah.
nothing on.
Nothing. But yeah, man. So that's it, man, for this week. Anything get off your chest? Any parting shots before we leave?
Man, the only thing in terms of parting shot things want to mention is um people in the southeast dealing with Hurricane Milton,
No doubt.
just if you need to evacuate, evacuate. If you're hunkering in, hunker in. But just no thoughts and prayers with all those people who are dealing with Hurricane Milton, and then even those who are just dealt with the past Hurricane Helene that just came through like a
Right.
week and a half ago. So it's a lot going on. People dealing with stuff down in the southeast.
Absolutely, man. And to like piggyback off of that, man, inform yourself. It's 2024.
Mm.
If you are uninformed, that's a choice at this point. So, coming off Helene, heading into Milton, get informed instead of bitching about, do something about it. If you want to help out, help out.
Yeah.
Actually take action, man, because people out there need help. And stop spreading misinformation and just to get people riled up or for clicks or views or whatever. If you want to help, help. There are plenty of ways to do so. So that's all I
Anyways,
got.
and you know, I was watching something on one of the channels this morning. They were actually